I don't know if that, I don't know, the Zoom typically will change the tempo of things sometimes.
No, it came through
on my
great
end, the rhythm was like really accurate.
No, it was on this end too. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I have to say about that. I will say that this one is a lot harder to play in an audition than it is in the orchestra. Typical of Berlioz fashion, when there was an important note, he like has it like quintupled at least. There's like when you have a fortissimo note that's really important in Berlioz, it's likely there's 10 other people just like told in their parts to just nail the shit out of it. So like when you play Symphonie Fantastique in the orchestra, it's almost relaxing. But when you play it in audition, you have all these things that you have to like articulation and volume, right? And then of course getting all the notes that actually like there's nowhere to hide. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to add or questions on that one?
You can go to Mahler 3 if you'd like.
All right.
I think that was great. Okay, let's do this. Just get a thumbs up. You can see him.
Not bad. Bravo.
Thank
Bravo.
you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I have a lot to say on that one. And I feel like philosophically, trombone players kind of approach this one the wrong way. Frequently, people will try to play this as loud as possible. And in point of fact, I did hear a bit of a rasp coming through in your playing.
Yes.
And then moreover, I would say that it was most evident when you did your diminuendo on the A at the bottom of the first page there. Okay?
Yes.
So, and these are two things that trombone players will struggle with. And again, like similar to the Symphonie Fantastique, it's almost like on a philosophical level, we're having the same problem. And that is to say, past getting all the notes, what do I want the audience to feel from this?
Yes.
Okay, we have to kind of show up for this. It's really important because again, I want you to, like everybody, I need you to consider this, okay? Because as we work on these excerpts, I think that there's something that can apply directly to you past the point of these excerpts themselves. I need you to answer the question, why, more often. Why? Okay? Frequently, especially for the younger players, the why I'm practicing things, or the why that I would play something a certain way is because you're doing it for a grade, right? Mm-hmm. But again, this is a very temporary thing. Like, for example, if you are doing it for a grade, you have to show up for the truth of the matter is that you're going to be working on Mahler 3 much longer than you are looking for an A from whatever teacher, okay? Mm-hmm. So beyond the approval of a teacher, why are you doing this? Well, I want to win an audition. Okay, well, maybe this isn't the last audition you would take. Ultimately, you would get to a point and answer like, well, why do you want to play it this way? Because I want the audience to feel a certain thing, okay? Now, most trombone players will approach Symphonie Fantastique and Mahler 3 like, I just want to get all the right notes, okay? And I need you to take it a step further, okay, to say, why would I want to play it a certain way, okay? Past a certain note, past the notes or the rhythm, because you want the audience to feel a certain way. And that will hopefully motivate you to start to tailor your practice so that you can do Mahler 3 without doing these distracting things, like have pitch problems or tone problems through diminuendo. You can see, like, that's a long tone right there. You would add hairpins to your long tones. Why? Because I want to play a better Mahler 3, okay? Frequently people do long tones. Why? Well, because that's what you do. You do long tones, right? Okay. What if they had a specific purpose, okay? So you understand that, like, I'm sure that you already knew that, but things can get even more specific than that. You're trying to play this really loud. Why? Because most trombone players are, it's like a gut check, right? Play Mahler 3. Why? Because I want to see how loud and big you can play, okay? Okay, that is a terrible thing to have the audience feel when you're talking about the arts in particular, right? It's just, it's really upsetting. So I want it to be a little more specific than that, and I would encourage you to consider, I want to play Mahler 3 loud but in control. What if I said play it as beautiful as possible? Now, before you go, I realize you got to get going. I actually recorded Mahler 3 a couple of nights ago, and rather than trust Zoom to do it correctly, perhaps if I could share my screen, I could do this before you go. And I can share my screen. That's great. Thank you. And share computer sound. Similar background. It's just at night. All right. Oh, and point of fact, what I'm trying to do with this is I want the audience to feel power, yes, but I want it to sound beautiful and cantabile. This is the thing that's missing, okay? Really quick thing to tell you before I go is, before you go, is play it like a Bordoni. Okay? Practice it. singing it and conducting. Okay, you don't seem to have a problem with tempo, but I'll just say that for everybody. Sing Mahler 3 and conduct it, and watch how hard it is. You need to be able to convey changes in the tempo, right? And then the last thing is, the louder you play, the less tongue you need, especially in the low register. Okay, so this will help to eliminate the rasp. I do think that was kind of loud. We'll say that that's not as warm as I would like it to do. I would like another attempt at that. But the thing that I'm doing, consistent with the Bordoni, is to sustain the hell out of it, right? Play with a really relaxed tongue, right? And then try to keep it cantabile. I want the main thing that to separate me from the pack is that the committee will notice that I'm playing cantabile, where everybody else is probably trying to pace the crap out of it. Okay?
Yes. Thank you so much for like all the comments. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish I could say, but unfortunately I'll have to leave. But I appreciate it.
Deeply offended.
Thank you.
See you later.
Appreciate it.
Toby, I have a really quick question about that. You know, so you are that diminuendo on the long A, which I'm always fighting the rise of the pitch as we run out of air. And I noticed there that you were actually, I think, unless it was a Zoom thing, you're flattening off as that note goes on. Is that correct?
I wasn't on purpose.
Okay.
I will say the hard part about Mahler 3 is kind of navigating the shift, at least in that first part, right? So you've got, most people have, if they're going to get like good purchase on the loud, low notes, they have to shift down somewhere between the F and the B flat partial. And the challenging part about that is that if you get to the end of the first page, you're shifted low, which typically means you're not going to have control like you normally would through that diminuendo of the A. You're playing in the like if you think about like your shift point, you've set yourself up to be able to nail the crap out of that low A, and you're just not in an efficient spot for the diminuendo down to niente on the A an octave higher. So I will say that what I do to navigate that is to just I need to learn how to play the A diminuendo with the low setting, and it's kind of like Zarathustra, for example, is another extreme example of that, where I'm learning how to play the low A with a top D set. You know, I've decided that the money note that I'm going to set for is the top D. That's the one I care about the most. So I'm trying to figure out how to play that top D, or sorry, the low A with the top D setting. This case, it's reversed, okay? The money note I've decided is the low A. Ba, 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 da, da, dee, da, 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 right? I want to be able to like nail that one. So that means I got to figure out how to play an A diminuendo and make it sound controlled. Now, the trick is, there is no trick. You just got to put the work in and figure it out. It's like that old magic trick, you know, where you put your you lick your fingers and you put the match out with your fingers, right? And somebody asks you like, what's the trick? How do you do that? And you say, well, the trick is I don't mind so much, right? Everybody thinks that there's no pain. There is pain. The trick is figuring out how to not mind the pain, okay? So in this case, like the trick is that you've prioritized the low A, which means that you're going to have to put the work in and figure out how to make that top A work. Now, I mentioned doing long tones, right? Hairpin long tones. Put a tuner on the stand. Like my favorite one is Tunable. It's an iPad app, and I want to make sure you guys have this. It's where are you? Here you go. Hold on, bear with me. I just put this link to my students at my for my own seminar. Copy link. I'll put this in the comments now. Chat. This is an iPad or iPhone app. Okay. Now, this is like a line that is extremely responsive. And it's fantastic to do on, some people say that it's like tonal energy, but this one's more of like a game, and it's just a line. And if your pitch wiggles even a little bit, you lose the game. When you get it right in the middle, like you get the like kind of an expansion, and then the second you go out of bounds, it starts over again. So doing long tones with this app is like one thing, but then doing hairpin long tones is it breaks your mind. It just is very humbling. So hairpin long tones, that's typically when you will see the most dramatic pitch shift. And again, the trick is there is no trick. You just have to practice your long tones with a goddamn tuner on the stand. That's it. And like, I'm not trying to say this as if I know something you don't. I bet you knew that. It's much of what you want in practice comes just doing the things that nobody wants to do and realizing that it's just a time investment. Again, this is like, we all know how to run a marathon, but the value is not knowing how to run the marathon. The value is putting the workouts in and being able to run the marathon, right? And like being able to hold your pitch steady through a diminuendo, there's no shortcut. We all know what we need to do. Put a tuner on the stand and practice your hairpins. It's really hard. But once you can do this, once you have a skill, you've created value, because lots of people don't like doing this kind of practice. And there are components of it in every excerpt. I think these hairpins happen all over the place. And most people screw them up just like they screw up rhythm, just like they screw up style. But all of these things take time to learn. And once you realize that, then it's just a matter of just staying motivated for the period of time it takes. That's all. I don't have a problem with this because I'm disagreeable and very stubborn. Yeah.
Are there any other questions from anybody at this point?
I would say like this one thing is like it's a superpower. Once you understand it, that everything you want is just a time commitment away, things start to get really easy. Easy is an overstatement. That's not fair. You know, like I'm glad you mentioned this story, Richard, because I think that it's too easy for people like us who have achieved a certain level of success to be like, well, you just got to stay positive, put the right, there's no shortcut. You do your long tones, do the things your teacher tells you to do. And it's just like, stay positive. And it's like, nah, man, when I didn't do well in an audition, I'd like be really sad for days, I was just, and like scrape myself up off the pavement each time. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it again. It's hard. It's hard. And I would say, looking back, refusing to give up is the thing that gave me the things that I wanted, regardless of if I even knew what I needed to do. But I'm not trying to say that it was an enjoyable process every day. It was not. It was really discouraging. And I actually think that I get kind of down more than the average bear. But it's just like, this is like a character flaw, I think, of mine, that I hate. I can't stand giving up.
I like the analogy that getting over an audition is like getting over an illness.
I like that. It still happens. Like, we did Mahler 3 on tour, and I chowed a couple of notes in the first solo in Paris. Didn't get a good warm-up. And I still think about, like, the reviewer called me out by name. It's like, and I never forget the comments in the review were just like, this was a perfect concert, except for the first trombone player who biffed 2 notes in the first solo. I was like, what? That's going to stick with me for a while. Now, every time I play Mahler 3, I'm going to be thinking about this. Never mind all the positive reviews.
But that reminds me of like PDQ Bach, oh, he's missed a note. The football commentary on the Beethoven 5.
Yeah.
The oboe player's gone mad. He thinks it's an oboe concerto. That. Like a reviewer saying this is a perfect concert apart from the first trombone's 2-note mistake. Crazy.
Yeah, that's going to stick with me a while. But I mean, I will say, like I was talking to my dad. We always like to run together, and he's my dad's 74. And I can remember when I was in high school, I would try to run with him at the track, and I could not keep up with him. He would do 8 to 10 400-meter dashes between 55 and 65 seconds. And like I'm in high school on the track team, and I can barely keep up with him. And I talked to him last night. He says, I went to the track and I ran quarters, which is 400 meters today. And I did 2 minutes. It was really fast. Not 60 seconds, but so he's like twice as slow. And he had this like dejected look, and he's just like, like we all have an idea of like the way, maybe you played it better in a practice room, right? Maybe like you go, have you ever had this feeling like you want to do an audition and you just like, you can tell from your warm up, it's not going to be a great day, right? In those moments, you have this compelling desire to quit, like emotionally check out. And I feel like this is one of the most important tenets of being an artist or being a human, is to try something anyway, knowing that it might not be as good as Joe Alessi. Right? It'll be your voice, and it might not even be the best version of your voice, but it's your voice that day. And the guts that it takes to still try, knowing that it won't be your best or the best ever, but to still try, is one of the most important lessons that you can give yourself, give anybody else. But you really can't. It's like you giving a gift to you. Because why? Because you're trying to do a hard thing while you first embrace your frailty. And I think that this is such a teaching thing. You learn so much about how to be a human when you do this. You have to embrace your frailty. And when you feel like you're playing your best, it's almost like you're missing an opportunity to grow as a person. But to know, you're gonna ask the hottest person in the room out on a date, knowing that you are not the hottest person. You're gonna do it anyway, right? You're gonna run the race, even though you know that it's quite possible you won't win. Now, there's a possibility that you will win, and there's a possibility that the most beautiful person in the room will say yes, and that's not your business to know why, right? Because they have their own thing. But like the fact that you try is such a human lesson that we have to, we give this to ourselves to know that our voice in that moment, in that day, the fact that we try is so much better. It's just like shouting out against the brevity of our lifetimes to say that we won't be muted because we might die someday. You can't make up that decision for life and choose not to live it anyway. I think it's really important that you give everything you've got and kind of leave, whether it's good or not, whether it's worthy of winning the job, leave all that up to the critics and you try anyway. This is the gift that you give yourself. Seems like there's a block party going on. We're in COVID, come on, quarantine. I swear to God, there's like a rock band outside. Perfect.
We can't hear them, so.
I can.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Well, yeah, see what you can do about that next time, Richard. I appreciate that.
Let's see.
Darian?
Are there any questions at this point, or otherwise we'll get over to Darian? Any questions? Nobody?
I have a quick question.
Great. Who is that? I can't see right now.
Hunter.
Hunter. Okay, great.
Now my question is, how many auditions did you end up having to go through to get to the point that you're at today? How many were you accepted to, and how many were you rejected, I guess, and how did you get over?
So I added up all my auditions when I won Boston, and it depends on how you count them. If you count festival auditions, school auditions, or just orchestral auditions, it's somewhere between 50 and 60. I won somewhere between 8 and 11. Every 8th or 11th audition, I won. Somewhere between there. So, I have colleagues in the orchestra that their averages are much higher. And I used to be kind of tacit about that average, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, the results speak for themselves, and it kind of points to the sort of stubbornness that I have. I can remember when I first started going to auditions, it was all about winning, and at the end, I kind of stopped caring. And I think that it's easy to say that. It took a lot of experience, but I started to notice that the things that I got out of an audition that I like, somewhere around audition number 12, there were things that I wanted to be able to take with me, growth that I wanted to take from the process. Like as I was preparing, I was just like, okay, so I'm actually figuring out how to play bolero a lot better under pressure now. This is something that I'm going to take with me regardless of the outcome of the audition, right? How I handle performance stress, nerves, right? This is something that I get to keep regardless of how the audition turns out. And you could see how, like, win or lose the audition, being able to handle your nerves better, maybe you would want that more than winning the audition. That's maybe easy for me to say to you than for you to be able to say that out loud and let it be true. But it will be because 4 concerts a week, and you're trying to get tenure, and you've got twins that are infants that are kind of like banking on you keeping your job to have health insurance, that might motivate you. You might be nervous in a way that is unfamiliar to you right now, okay? There's nobody counting on you at this point for you to keep your job or to win a job, right? But when that happens and you're trying to get tenure on a probationary period, it is upsetting. It's a real emotional thrill every time you go to play a concert, let alone a rehearsal or even practicing. So being able to overcome your nerves under pressure is maybe a skill that you would want to keep, right? So as you're preparing, you start thinking about all the things that you want to take with you, regardless of the outcome, and you start to care less and less about the outcome because of it. So, I think the most gratifying thing, and I'm sure Richard would attest to this, is like when you go to an audition, you see people that you're not going to see any other time, other trombone players that you really care about, and you miss them. And you go to an audition, it's like you got this, crappy thing that you got to do, but then you're kind of like really excited about the hang afterwards because you get to hang out with Richard. I remember like John Lombardo and Steve Lang. I used to hang out with him after auditions. I didn't get to see them any other time. And it was just really wonderful to hang out with them. And I look forward to that. I look forward to like kind of keeping the things that I gained for the performance practice for auditions. And you start to maybe not care about the number of auditions that you take. And you just want to make sure that you have as little regret as possible when you go to the auditions, which is impossible. You will always have some regrets, but that's another subject.
If there aren't any more questions, we can go to Darian.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Roll.
I wanted to ask you about your embouchure change because I'm currently going through one. So I just wanted to ask you, what was your mindset approach to your embouchure change?
This is a good question. There's a lot of things that I would do different for my embouchure change if I could do it over again. One of the things that I screwed up is that I should have practiced small amounts of time instead of large. I tried to keep my practice sessions between a half hour and 45 minutes. Ideally, at the beginning, I probably would have practiced less than that. I think I put too much energy into building a physical process, like musculature, and instead of efficiency. So like the rim I'm a big fan of getting people to practice on the rim. That would have been a huge help, and I missed an opportunity there because I was really focused on dramatic breath support, which did help me, but in the upper register, I tended to only work if I was just overblowing it. So I would have done better focusing on building efficiency and having like keep success intact for every audition, every practice session. So like frequently when you're working on your upper register, for example, you'll practice past the point of failure, right? Trying to build strength. And I think I would have done a lot better job trying to keep success intact, like stop just before I run out of gas and like choose to look at it later in the day. That even goes to equipment as well, because I was playing equipment that was too big for me to play at the time. So, and you'll find this, I'm sure, if you think about your younger students, there's a reason that you wouldn't give them a professional trombone right at the beginning, because they can't fill up the horn or the mouthpiece with breath support to carry a phrase. So I think that what I would have done in retrospect would have been to like switch to a 6.5 mouthpiece and maybe like a Bach 36 or similar size horn, and play that for like 6 months, just all the things I normally would, until I couldn't, I felt like I was, a bodybuilder wearing a small shirt. I need to like wear something that fits. So the reason I say that is because high register was the last thing that came in my embouchure change, and this would have kept it much closer to me if I was playing a smaller instrument. I think that keeping success intact in your practice is important to facilitate the growth of upper register and endurance. All right, when you biff an upper note or you run out of gas when you're playing, your body remembers that, and it brings all of that effort next time, because it's the most familiar. The most familiar experience when you're playing is that you would have so much fatigue that you can barely get through. And you'll see this keeping people back from their upper register development, even in old age, because they're going for upper register and their entire experience playing trombone is with physical effort in the upper register. And so even when they're fresh, they'll bring that physical effort. So what I would say is that we need to like use smaller equipment so that we get used to playing with that sort of ease of approach, and then we carry it into our bigger equipment when the time comes. These two things, like keep success intact with smaller practice sessions and smaller equipment, would have made it, and then also buzzing the rim more often would have really helped me. I didn't do.
Thank you.
So, Darian has recorded which movements, Darian, from the Bach cello suite?
It's just the beret, the first and second beret.
First and second berets, and then there's 2 excerpts or 3 excerpts at the end.
It's 2 excerpts, Tuba Miram and the ride.
Toby, do you have any preference as to what?
Have you guys done Tuba Miram yet today?
No.
Well, let's do that. I got plenty to say about that one.
Okay. Let me just find it.
Yeah, I think it's all together in one.
Yeah,
so
I've got you queued up. I think I know where it is. Why don't you just tell us where you are, Darian, and what's going on?
Sure. Right now I'm in LA.
Earheads that are just kind of excited about each other's tools for the trade, right? So as I'm telling you all these things, I'm curious if you have a similar tool, if you have a...
I can hear Toby Oft talking, but his lips aren't moving. We good? Sorry, Darren. Go ahead. Tell us where you are, what stage you're at, and what's going on.
Yeah, right now I'm in LA. I did my undergrad at Northern Illinois University, and then did my master's at Manhattan School of Music, and then also did a professional studies for 1 year after that. Finished that in 2017. Just been in LA since then, pretty much, and currently moving to Denver in like a week. to study with Richard. So
cool. Right, can everyone see this? Tobes, can you see the screen share? Great.
Not too much wrong with that. Not too much wrong with that at all. I don't have a big problem with that. I think the only thing that kind of stuck out to me as a problem was there was very little dynamic shape to this. Would you say this kind of like mezzo forte legato sempre?
yeah, it's pretty much like a comfortable dynamic that I did the whole time, pretty much for me.
Yeah, and then there's one, I have a pet peeve with the end of the second phrase. And I don't think that it's, I think that a lot of people have a pet peeve with these two notes. It's how you do the last three notes of the second phrase. And some people vehemently do not like playing the D in fourth. I do, but the reason they don't like it is because the D is quite often out of tune, right? Or like me, I don't like playing the D in first because I typically hear a scoop, right?
Okay.
I mean, anything close to that, I just like it's like nails on a chalkboard. So that's I like to play the D in fourth there, but of course you're on your F partial, so you have to bring it down a bit. But if you play the D in fourth, the D in fourth is less efficient than in first, which means that if you keep everything constant, like the airstream constant, not only do you not hear a timbre shift as you shift partials from the E flat to the D, the timbre stays the same, but also the timbre itself is going to be more covered, which lends itself to a nice diminuendo.
Yeah.
Right? And that sort of like discusses the dynamic shape that is necessary in this one. So the industry standard is to play this excerpt mezzo forte legato throughout, right? And let's see if this happens. Oh, it does work. Okay, so this, let's see, can I do this as a, do this. Hang on. I'm going to give you a screenshot of my part. Let's work. Can I share a file like this? No, come back. Oh, here we go, file. Got it, I got it.
Put it in the chat, yeah.
Yeah, I just need to screenshot. Nice. All right, here's my part. And then what's interesting to look at, I think, is what Mozart wrote. So here's the manuscript. Right here. And I'll just get the second page here. Just got to grab it. Almost there. Nope. Come on now. There it is. So if you look at this, what you see is hopefully different. I think, you know, if you look at my first, you know, my part, right, which is, you know, more consistent with what people will play, which is to play a little more like sustained sort of cantabile legato. You see, you know, kind of a, you know, I think a dichotomy in that, like, because publishers have taken liberties enough with the music itself, you know, like the articulation that's marked, it's kind of like you're given a pass, right? And it's like what is the industry standard of tuba mirum played mezzo forte legato sempre, is kind of like, you know, we're to be forgiven for that as trombone players. But I would say you're going to stick out in the crowd if you can intelligently apply more specific musicianship here, okay? Now, to everybody, tuba mirum is going to be on every audition you ever play, okay? When it's not on the audition, just assume it's going to be there for sight reading, okay? It's not a wasted effort, right? It's likely you're going to like injure yourself, like if you played Zarathustra 80 times in a day. Well, I got to get this one ready. You know, it's like, well, actually, if you did that too much, you could hurt yourself in a way that you can't come back. It's not going to happen on tuba mirum, okay? You will always have to play tuba mirum. Always got to play it in lessons. When when you're where I am, you're gonna have to play it in every lesson you ever work on. It's always going to be there, okay? It's just prolific. Mozart gave us an excerpt, a solo. This is a huge deal, okay? Why didn't every composer do this, okay? I don't know, but Mozart gave us a solo, okay? So this is going to be on every audition that you play. Please have a specific idea of what you want to do musically. This is the thing that trombone players miss. Why? Because playing trombone is hard, and actually getting all the notes in a mezzo forte legato mid-range excerpt is actually hard for a lot of trombone players. Think about that. Think about how frustrating that must be for a trumpet player to listen to. It's just like, well, they got a solo, and this is what they're trying to do with it. Meanwhile, I got to carry a concert with my playing. They're just like, mezzo forte, they got all the notes. Hey, good job. Why? Because most trombone players can't do that. That is so ridiculous, okay? Part of the reason that that's ridiculous is because we don't challenge ourselves to be more musically interesting. What if it was your job to carry the attention of everybody in the room? Okay? Like, they are not allowed to get bored and check out. You might find yourself wanting to play something much more interesting than mezzo forte legato for 2 minutes. Okay? So what I want to have you do, obviously, and this is like, it should be a no-brainer, is to, like, what is the soloist doing, right? And I think that you did this somewhat in already, and that is to play, like, phrase your first phrase like they're going to sing it, right? Tuba. I'm on the wrong note, I think. I'm too high. Oh, it's right on. Nice. Nobody really spoke up. No, you're right, Toby. Okay, fine. Tuba. Okay, that's all. Okay, so you can allow yourself to play sort of like, I would call this poco forte, right? Tuba. You're gonna play maybe tenuto marcato. Okay, tuba, and then if you have to breathe here, potentially you could, because it's a new word. Mirum spargent, right? So these are all a little more gentle, right? They're not hard phonemes. These consonants at the beginning are rather gentle. Mirum spar, maybe that's a little harder, but we can get away with just keeping it consistent. Spargent sol, right? Maybe you have to breathe there. I like to do it all in one breath. Why? Because it relegates me to a poco forte instead of like a Mahler forte, right? If I play and I run out of breath, I know that I'm either playing it too slow or too loud, okay? It's about a lungful to get through those first 3 bars, okay? Then the second phrase, dynamic contrast, okay? Make it dramatic. Piano cantabile. Why? Because the baritone soloist is just holding a long note, and they are the soloist. Nobody's ever, like, if you're playing with a singer, nobody's going to say, oh, a trombone part's more and more important, right? Even here, where they're holding a note, you don't want to pull too much focus. You don't want to make them work for it. So you play piano cantabile, right? Actually, I feel like I have this for you to listen to. I recorded it the other day. Like when I said the other day, like several months ago, but good. Here we go. I got it. I got it. I got it. Sharing screen. Hopefully this will be epic. Nice. Share. Look at that opening screen. Yeah. You know it's going to be good. So if I were to say, make it artistically interesting to listen to, but I am not allowing you to play as fast as you can play or as loud as you can play, you might find yourself being expressive in ways that you haven't been before. And again, like I like to look at everything as a philosophical question. You know, like, I think that this is telling for the philosophy of a lot of trombone players. We will approach something and try to make it artistically compelling based on how loud we can play. And when we are prevented from accessing those louder volumes, we don't know what to do. Isn't getting all the notes enough, right? So like typically articulation is the way that you're going to show that the best. Dynamic contrast, especially the color shift between piano and mezzo forte with a bit of vibrato sprinkled in, can be a really great way to show that, to showcase your artistic talent, right? Vocalists do this. And this is driving a lot of the inspiration for my practice, is to listen to a lot more vocalists. And it comes from, again, a philosophical question. Why are they paid so much more than we are? And yet they don't have access to as many notes. Like we play like over 5 octaves. They typically have at most 2, right? We can play much louder than they can sing. Our careers are longer, usually. Why are vocalists paid on par with conductors when the only thing that they can do that we can't is sing with words? Okay, I want to suggest that we are by nature musically boring, and we need to challenge ourselves to be more musically interesting. And one of the ways that we can do that is by trying to do what vocalists do a little more adeptly. Now, we are putting a lot of energy in it. In fact, I think that it's important to show up for the fact that most trombone players cannot play with consistent pitch, tone, quality, and rhythm, okay? Notwithstanding articulation. So oftentimes we'll put a lot of energy into being consistent, as if that is the highest standard, is to play consistent. I would tell you that, like, if you can get your rhythm and your pitch and your tone quality consistent, right, then you can start to sprinkle in the variations in articulation, because that makes it more interesting. But do it intelligently, as I was telling you. Like, and in fact, if you look at my my part that I sent you, you can see me like taking opportunities to be expressive outside of when the singer is singing. For example, in measure 9, you can see that I've got a diminuendo, right? Because the singer's moving line is coming up out of that texture. So I want to get out of the way. I'm singing the baritone part, right? I'm trying to get out of the way of when they're singing, right? So, and again, these can be kind of subtle, but you can tell if you listen to it again. I think I put this on a YouTube or a Facebook or whatever. This video, I'm trying to get out of the way, but I'm using articulation to keep my part interesting as I play. All right. This requires a bit of practice. If I told you to vary the articulation so that I could like dictate slurred and non-slurred parts, right? My guess is you would probably have some no speakies. Okay. And so these inconsistencies of articulation to the point that you actually miss the note entirely, it becomes a new level of what you need to practice. All this said, like, I'm being super critical, but I think that the way you played it was really great. And you know, I listened to your audition from, I think it was this year. Looked at my notes. No, it was last year, wasn't it? That you auditioned at NEC?
It was 2017, I think. Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I recorded this and I have my notes to go over. You're playing. You've been working.
Yeah.
I can hear a big difference in your playing, and bravo on that. And I think you did the Mahler, and I was writing that like I wanted like more like fullness in your sound. You're getting there. I can hear it like it's really filling out. So whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And I think you going to study with Richard, you're gonna be great. Don't even give it a second thought. This is you're doing everything right. And a lot of times we need to hear that, you know, that you're on the path to success, and you just need to keep doing what you're doing. And I know that you're not gonna win an audition tomorrow, but that's fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. You will. Okay. Questions on that, everybody?
You guys are also shy.
That's okay.
Yeah, you know. Well, look, we've got 20 minutes left. Darian has another excerpt. He has the ride. It doesn't seem like they're throwing questions at you, Toby, but I definitely still want to give you as much time as you want to wrap up.
Okay.
So do you want to do the ride and then do a wrap up?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So let me just share the screen again. You all see that? You know what? I didn't double check. I am sharing computer sound. So there we go. There is the share. We'll blow it up. I will mute.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, there's a trick to this one. The rhythm. Now, before I go into the trick, you fell into a trap here. And this is it's funny. I don't remember hearing this problem, but like industry-wide, but I'm hearing it now, and I'm wondering if it's just because I'm old. Could be that I'm just getting old. But let's look at the part, shall we? So what I want to do is like, can I zoom in? Yeah, look at this. In this rhythm that we see over and over again, you've got an accent. We all know this, right? But I just want to review it because this is what I want to point out here. We have the accent on the dotted eighth, right? And then we have these two articulation marks over the 16th and the 8th, right? What I'm hearing a lot of people do is they do short, like, or kind of a separation, which is what staccato means specifically, over the 16th, and then they apply the clarity of the staccato on the last eighth here, but for some reason they reduce the distance between the B and the D. Bum ba da da da, bum ba da da da, bum ba da da da. People rush to beat 2. And it's a really weird thing. It's like it's not in the pocket, right? And if you've ever practiced this on 8 notes, bum 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 bum, right? Where you just used to hearing everything right in the pocket, no variation, not even playing the 16th. It's just like bum 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 bum. And I do recommend that you practice that, not like crazy loud or anything like that, but just like mezzo forte, just trying to get the rhythm in your soul. Bum 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 bum, right? The reason is because people typically start to play with the note shape to the point that the beats start to be not always in the same place. They start to play laterally. And so what I'm hearing is you're falling into this trap that I hear a lot of people falling into. They play the first 3 notes, bum, 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 those 3 notes, fine, everything is correct. In fact, if I will say, just on a tangent moment, when people are first learning this piece, they screw up where the 16th is supposed to go. They typically will put that early. The way that you're playing it, the 16th is fine. Bum, bum, ba-dum, right? That's all fine. Actually, the notes, those 4 notes, the first 4 notes are fine. Bum, bum, ba-dum, fine. Great. In fact, that's what everybody screws up, is the beginning of each one of these notes. It's fine. Bum, bum, ba-dum, great. You're rushing to B2. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da, bum, 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 ba-da, bum, 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 ba-da, bum, right? Now, I'm exaggerating to make a point, but perhaps we should listen to it again, just with this in mind. Oh, I need to stop screen sharing, I think. Oh, you got it, good. It's funny how like at the beginning you're like, well, maybe that's not happening, but then like by the 4th or 5th measure, it's like it started to get really consistent, right? We're hearing you rushing to B2. Now you understand like what we actually need is, okay, let's see. I'll tell you the right answer is to create more space between the 8th and beat 2, okay? But typically, like, again, like, because the marathon thing is like, you just need to run faster. Oh, thank God, I know that now. Like, it's like yelling to a drowning man, you're gonna die. Well, he knows that now, you know. like then somebody like throws him a donut so he doesn't, you know, or a log, and like suddenly he's got something to hang on to, right? But you're not helping somebody by saying you're gonna die. You know, that's not helpful. Okay, so the method is the helpfulness. Okay, so you create this separation. You know, so like, don't go underwater. Create the separation. Oh, thank you. I know that because you can't breathe under there. Oh, I know that now. No, you know this. Okay, you need to create the separation. But let's go back to what we want. The committee needs to feel. The committee needs to feel like. That you've got good rhythm. And for that to happen, you need to have infectious rhythm. So you got to create a groove, okay? And this is how I do it, okay? You know hot cup of tea, the 2 against 3 pattern? Okay, so if you can do that, well, that's try that, everybody. Like, one is triplets and the other is 8th notes, just hot cup of tea. Now, mathematically speaking, this lines up. In fact, if I could share screen again, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is like my terrible finale skills. What you can see is the dotted rhythm is your first eighth note, right? And this is equal to 3/16, right? So the 4th 16th happens on the second eighth note. So if you just did eighth notes, bum 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 bum, so bum 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 bum. These are duples, right? 2 and 3, bum 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 bum, right? The 16ths actually mathematically line it all up, right? But we're missing that last eighth note, right? Which is the triplet eighth note. So we get the first and the third triplet, and the middle is the duple. And this is why it's a really cool, catchy rhythm. The groove is the hot cup of tea. So the trick isn't even practicing it with the trombone. If you can sing Die Valkyrie while you do hot cup of tea with your hands, you're going to be fine, okay? You can do this while you're driving your car. You can do this while you're watching TV, right? Bum bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba, right? I like to use sometimes I'll use opposing surfaces with a different noise. Oh, I need a cling. That's better. We'll use the trombone. Yeah. Bum bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba ba bum ba dum ba. Now, this again, you got to put the workouts in. It needs to be something that you can it's ingrained. It's not a coordinated effort. It's something that you feel the groove, and it's not a problem. Okay. Frequently, people try to play notes off the page like the answer kind of fell from the sky. It's if I told you to draw a shark, or you did shark, kind of connect the dots like you see on the kids menu at the restaurant, right? Which one is going to be more accurate? You need to make it organic enough that it's a part of you. Like draw a shark is going to be a lot better than the connect the dots. And the virtue of drawing the shark, you only knew that you were drawing a shark when you get to number 87 on the connect the dots. Otherwise, you wouldn't have known it. That's kind of like what it's like when you're playing notes off the page. Does that make sense? There's nothing organic about it, and we all kind of know that. If you can sing it, oh, that's funny. That's not good. Probably went dark there for a moment. Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I threw the clothespin down, and it hit the power switch on my power bar, which means it turned off all my microphones at once. I was like, so I don't know if you can still hear me as well or not. I would presume so. But yeah. I guess the punchline is that you have to make the rhythm of Die Valkyrie have a groove, okay? So you got to put your groove workouts in. It's not going to have a groove unless you practice it to the point that you've just got the groove in you, right? So you practice this groove. You don't even need to have the trombone going. If you want to put it on on your beat pattern, right? You've got a metronome that can do duples against triplets. That'll help. But it's almost like you need to be able to do them both by themselves. Bum, bum, ba-dum, ba, ba, bum, ba-dum, ba. Again, you want to play this with infectious rhythm, okay? Then the only thing you got to worry about is making sure that the downbeat is louder than beats 2 and 3, okay? Let's see here. I think just to tie a bow on this one, I did record this one as well. This is really cool. See, I'm doing my own seminar, and so I've tried to record a lot of these just for example in them, and now I can just reuse them in situations like this. It's like I'm a lot more prepared than I used to be. Share. Oh, I guess I did the major section as well. Can you hear, like, as we rest here, like, let me, I think that one more thing that might help you on this one, Darian, is that the firmness of the attack on beat 2 is quite a bit less than the 8th and the 16th that come before. In Die Walküre, you can take the virtue of what Wagner wrote for the articulation and think about the energy in the attack. All the articulations markings, like with the accent and the 2 staccato, sort of suggest a firmness in the attack, and you can absolutely relax with a very gentle tongue, facile, like soft in your mouth, rhythmic to be sure, but facile by comparison to the 3 notes that came before. All right. The sun is out. Forward there.
Toby, we have about 3 minutes left before we've got a M&W are going to do a little presentation.
Oh, cool.
And then it's my master class. And then actually later on tonight, guys, Scott Hartman's going to be here only for today. He's going to do an hour about his mouthpieces. So we're just going to adjust the schedule slightly. From 4:30 to 5:30 will be mouthpieces, and then 5:30 to 6:30 we'll have the career talk. So I just wanted to let you know that. But, you know, Toby, how do you want to wrap this thing up?
Okay, I'm going to give you a crash course on auditions, okay? So that you can prioritize things, okay? This is it really quick. In the first round of every audition, they're looking for the 3 T's. This is going to drive much of your undergrad practice, okay? Actually, most trombone players, except for only a few, can play with consistent time, tune, and tone, okay? Make sure that your tone quality is beautiful, always, right? That your pitch is accurate and that your rhythm is infectious. Not only accurate, but infectious, okay? So put your energy into practicing the 3 T's, and you've got college curriculum for whenever you want to be a college professor. Why? Because most trombone players can't do this. But it's not enough. If you're in a group of people that can all play with the 3 T's, no problem, how do you separate yourself? You separate yourself with inspiring musicianship. This doesn't happen by accident. You need to actually make this a part of your practice every day. You cannot hope to be an inspiring musician unless you are daily inspired, okay? Find music you actually need. It's part of your practice. Your career development needs to be in finding music that inspires you. Why? Because you want to copy it. You want it to be exactly, you want to play with the same inspiring notion, okay? But that takes you out of the second round, which puts you into the third round. The third round, everybody there can play with consistent pitch, tone quality, and rhythm, right? They're also inspiring musician. So how do you separate yourself out? The way that you separate yourself is with adaptable musicianship. Okay? Adaptable musicianship means that when the conductor says, I need you to play this shorter or longer or louder or softer, right? All of this stuff are things that you need to adapt to quickly. It also goes to when you're playing your section round, right? You need to adapt quickly to the rest of the section, particularly the brass section, right? Your adaptable musicianship is what gets you the contract. Nobody talks about these last 2 things, and it is worthy of your practice time. So let's go over this again. The 3 T's: be an inspiring musician, be an adaptable musician. Now, how do you practice this? The 3 T's are really easy to figure out, right? You need a metronome, you need a tuner, and you need a recording device, okay? You need to record yourself so you can verify that your time, tune, tone are accurate and consistent, even like when you're not looking, okay? A lot of times you think that your rhythm is great, you think that your pitch is great, and you think your tone quality is great, but you need a tuner. You need a tuner, you need a metronome, but you especially need a recording device so that you can confirm that without the tuner on the stand, without the metronome going, that all these things are intact, okay? your recording device is really important part of your practice. Being an inspiring musician, I already told you that. The way that you're going to be an inspiring musician is daily you are going to listen to and try to even copy inspiring musicians, okay? It may not necessarily be your own instrument. I told you before that I'm listening to a lot more musicians, right? Adaptable musicianship, how do you practice this? The way that you're going to practice this, chiefly with your trombone quartets, but even more so in your brass quintets. In your brass quintets, you get used to matching and being adaptable, adjustable to rhythm and pitch of other instruments, okay? That is to say that when the trumpet has the melody, you know to adjust pitch, rhythm, and volume so that they can bring their artistry out easily, okay? Typically, people that are very good on the trombone are not very adaptable because they haven't practiced playing an ensemble like a brass quintet. I will tell you that brass quintet was one of the mainstays of my curriculum all the way through college and even afterwards, and it is the fundamental reason why I never didn't get tenure. I always got tenure everywhere I went because I played in brass quintet. This is what gave me adaptable musicianship. The other thing that will give you adaptable musicianship in spades is if you play for another teacher. Okay? So when you go to a teacher and there's a period of time when you're looking for the last word, and then you realize that the way that the teacher is telling you to play may not necessarily be what the orchestra is looking for. Now, if they aren't willing to listen to you past the first chance, that's not your problem. But if they are and they ask you to play it different, you need practice adapting quickly to what they're asking you to do. And the way you will do this as quickly as possible is to play for a teacher that is not your usual teacher. They will ask you to do different things than your usual teacher, and your job is not to say, that's right, that's wrong, or that's not the last word, or that's not what my teacher told me to do. Just do what they're asking as quickly as possible, okay? So just to reiterate one more time, when you're getting ready for your audition, you have your time-tuned tone, right? Be an inspiring musician, then be an adaptable musician. Ideally, all of this is conflated into an aggregate of the player that you are today. But this can help you to sort of prioritize so that you don't get stuck. A lot of times trombone players will get stuck in one round for their entire career, right? They will never be an inspiring musician or an adaptable musician because all they're thinking about doing is playing the time-tuned tone. Okay? If you can figure out a way to conflate all of these into an aggregate of the player that you are, then potentially you've got a shot.
You make me want to go take an audition again. And I really don't, really don't want that.
Oh my God.
What can I say? It's such a wealth of information. I know it's hard to take it all in at once. If you don't mind, Toby, I did record this. And
That's great.
I'm going to make it available to everyone for maybe 30 days after the seminar too, so they can go back.
Let me know if you want any of the examples. I'm happy to just forward them to you, and you can just include them on your stuff.
Great.
If you wouldn't mind just like putting a plug in there, because much of the examples that I use today are pulled from the material that is archived on the members only section of my seminar, the Online Brass Institute. You can see this on my website. If you want to join, I'd love to have you, but just mention it if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely, yeah, of course. And you guys should be checking that out because you know you can see how valuable all this is. We are eternally grateful. I'm eternally grateful. This has been great, Toby. You're welcome to hang out for any of this stuff today and tomorrow. You know, we'd love to have you. Otherwise, we'll see you soon. For everyone in the seminar,
I'm going to come later today, but
cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I won't come to everything, but I definitely want to check out Scott's thing.
Cool. Well, we'll see you then. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's give Toby a round of applause. And
thanks for everything, you guys.
Thank you, Toby. If you guys want to take advantage of the master craftsman that we have now, Matthew Walker. I know that he's done work for Toby in the past, although he's probably not allowed to say that anymore because he's with Edwards. But Toby's worked with Matthew, and he's a great guy. So anything you want to ask him about trombone, I think would be now's your time. Then we'll have my class, and then we'll get into Scott later on, and then we'll have the career talk. So still plenty to come.
All right.
All right, guys.
Have a good day, you guys.
See you later.
See you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.